What if there was only one male on Earth? The concept of the last man on Earth has spawned countless movies and TV shows. It's often billed as one of the greatest opportunities that you could have in a world where you could do whatever you wanted. Or it could be one of the biggest nightmares, as without a sense of community, we'd suffer crippling loneliness. But what if you were just the last man on Earth, but all the women remained? This adds a whole new dynamic to the last man on Earth concept. Sure, with no one of your sex around, you might pine for the company of a guy, but you'd be far from lonely. In fact, far from it. You'd be a hot property, but probably not in the fun way you're thinking of. Let's look at what would happen if there was only one male on Earth. Before we look at this, a quick reminder to give this video a thumbs up if you're enjoying it, and also to subscribe to Brain Impact for more videos just like this one. But now, back to the lonely male. Now, we've never been in a situation where there's only been one man on Earth unless you want to believe the Bible as a history book. Despite this, there have been scenarios when the male population has been depleted in comparison to their female counterparts. Around 6,000 years ago, because of either climate or ecological factors that had a bigger impact on men, there was only one man per every 17 women. In the modern world, wars tend to contribute to an imbalance in the sexes. World War I led to what was called a lost generation. Almost 900,000 men in the UK alone lost their lives, leading to women having to rebuild communities. And although we're far from any kind of male doomsday scenario at the moment, male sperm count has been decreasing in recent decades. Studies have shown that the average count has reduced by almost half in the last 50 years, and it appears that plastics are to blame. These plastics are dithylhexylfolate, aka DEHP, which are used to make new plastics more flexible, but also the now banned polychlorinated biphenyl 153 or PCB 153. Not only that, but the sperm that remain are being shown to be getting slower or more likely to have defects. The reason for this is due to our bad lifestyles of being overweight, taking drugs, poor diet, and smoking, which all contribute to shooting blanks. And most of these have been on the increase in recent years. So although this isn't going to directly lead to a gender imbalance, what it does lead to is greater pressure on your sperm to perform, but with them less likely to be up to the job. The issue with this is that providing sperm is going to be your main job if you are the last man on Earth. You're going to be expected to step up, take one for the team, and start repopulating your gender. Now, this definitely isn't as fun as it sounds. There's no room for fun when there's repopulation that needs doing. This is likely to be a very clinical exercise where you need to impregnate as many women as possible. There's no room here for candlelit romantic meals, as the most efficient way to do this is to collect sperm to be used artificially. The advantage of this is that it could be frozen, so it'd be useful for long after you pass away. So stop thinking of the potential for you to have your pick of the world's women and think more of you being treated as a farmyard animal that's needed for intensive human farming to get the male population up to speed. Bearing in mind the sperm stats that we revealed earlier, and you can see why this might cause some problems. It's difficult to perform under pressure at the best of times without the whole of the female population looking at you to produce strong genetics. Now the pressure is on, and with the rest of the world looking at you, you'd be expected to do what it takes to improve your swimmers. The first step would be to reverse all the reasons that we have for a low sperm count today. This would mean regular exercise, no drinking, no smoking, no drug taking, and if there's any risk that plastics might be damaging your sperm, then they'd be coming nowhere near you. Instead, you'll be living a very healthy and nature-oriented life. This wouldn't be so bad, as you will end up feeling great in yourself. However, all the stress of having to keep up your end of the bargain for over 3 billion women might work against the Zen lifestyle that you'd have to be living. Other ways to improve your sperm count would be to watch what you're taking into your body, or more precisely, increase the good stuff you're taking in. Your vitamin D would need to be upped. This would most likely be in pill form, but natural sources can be found in oily fish like salmon, red meat, and egg yolks. This doesn't sound like too bad a diet, but you'd need to balance this out with vitamin C and zinc. Citrus fruits like oranges and limes are great sources of vitamin D, as well as peppers and strawberries. Then, with zinc, you'd want to be eating lean meats like chicken, nuts, and seeds, as well as beans. So essentially, a well-balanced diet of whole foods would get you what you need, and you wouldn't have other men on the planet to share it with, so you may well be fed like a king. Also, you can produce better sperm. The likelihood is, however, that you'd probably be fed a cocktail of pills as the most efficient and reliable way to get your nutrients in balance. Being the only man on Earth in this scenario means saying goodbye to any kind of freedom. The best chances of survival would be to turn yourself into the government and hope that they'd preserve your life for the good of humanity. With the future of the human race in your hands, if you stayed outside, you'd be the sought-after commodity on the planet and would likely be torn apart by either mobs of people desperate to preserve society or by those desperate to destroy it. It would never be so easy to wipe out our species, as your death would wipe out any chance of survival in an instant. Assuming you managed to find solace with the government, then they couldn't take the risk of you having any freedom at all, for fear that something might happen to you. You'd be well looked after because, as we explored already, your health is imperative to continue the human race. In this way, you'd likely live the life of a Disney princess. You'd have everything you could ever want to keep you healthy and happy apart from your freedom. You'd also have a long list of impressive suitors, and there'd no doubt be a selection process to find your perfect match for the best fertility results. Whether or not you'd see them is another story, as the clinical way this dystopian scenario is likely to pan out will mean that you'd be spending more time with plastic cups than you would be with your dream girl. There is one other option which would be almost impossible. You could escape and go completely off-grid. Of course, this is a selfish option, as you'd be putting human existence at risk. However, you might choose this option when you felt your job was done and you'd provided enough of your seed to repopulate the male world. If you chose to do this, then you'd be looking at a remote life, constantly being hunted by 3 billion women. The only place you'd likely be able to go is a jungle, a tropical island, or tundra completely away from civilization. And even then, how would you get there alone? This is one of those scenarios that might sound like fun at first. One man with all the women in the world to choose from, but there'd be no choice here. Choice would be taken out of your hands as well as your freedom. What would you do if you were the last man on Earth? Let us know in the comments box. Please like this video if you've enjoyed it. If you want to see more videos like this one, then subscribe to Brain Impact for more. Thanks for watching.